Hi children, last time we started with lesson number 3, motions of the earth. Last time we learned about rotation and revolution of the earth. We also learned about inclination of the earth axis and the orbital plane. We learned how day and night on the earth takes place due to rotation. We also studied about the revolution of the earth and the season. We studied that the earth is going around the sun in an elliptical orbit. We also studied about what is a leap year. So today we are going to continue with the same lesson. So all of you open textbook page number 20 with me and we will start reading the lesson. Look at figure 3.3. You will see that on 21st June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. The rays of the sun fall directly on the Tropic of Cancer. As a result, these areas receive more heat. The areas near the pole receive less heat as the rays of the sun are slanting. The North Pole is inclined towards the sun, and the place beyond the Arctic Circle experiences continuous daylight for about 6 months, since a large portion of the northern hemisphere is getting light from the sun. It is summer in the region north of the equator. The longest day and the shortest night at these places occur on 21st June. At this time, in the southern hemisphere, all these conditions are reversed. It is winter season there. The nights are longer than the day. This position of the earth is called summer solstice. So, if we observe figure 3.3, we will come to know about summer solstice. So, let's go to figure 3.3. Okay, so this is the figure 3.3. Over here, we can see summer solstice, which is on 21st June. So, children, we can see that this is the sun and the earth is getting heat from the sun, the north pole and the south pole. Now we see that the north pole is inclined towards the sun, means all of the north pole. You can see that the part which is colored in yellow color, all of the north pole is slanted towards the sun, and the south pole, some of the part is not getting proper heat from the sun. The rays of the sun are falling directly on the Tropic of Cancer. As a result, these areas are receiving more heat from the sun. The areas near the pole receive less heat. The North Pole is inclined toward the sun beyond the Arctic Circle. Hence, a large portion of the northern hemisphere is getting sunlight from the sun. So, we see that as this North Pole is inclined, you can see that a major portion is getting heat from the sun, while in the South Pole we see that it is still cold. So, on 21st June, the longest day and the shortest night is observed. At this time, the southern hemisphere, all the conditions are reversed. It is winter season here. The nights are longer than the days. This position of the earth is called summer solstice. So, on 21st June, it is summer in the northern hemisphere. Why? Because the north side of the earth is slanting towards the sun, while it is winter in the southern hemisphere. Why? Because the south side is not getting heat. The south pole is not getting heat from the sun. So, this situation is called as summer solstice. When the north pole is getting lot of heat and the south pole is receiving less heat. And this is for about 6 months experience. So, this is called as summer solstice. It takes place on 21st of June. It is summer in the northern hemisphere and it is winter in the southern hemisphere during 21st June, which is called as summer solstice. Now let's go to the next para. On 22nd December, the Tropic of Capricorn receives direct rays from the Sun as the South Pole tilts towards it. As the sun rays fall vertically on the Tropic of Capricorn, that is 23.5 degrees south, a large portion of the southern hemisphere gets light. Therefore, it is summer in the southern hemisphere with longer days and shorter nights. The reverse happens in the northern hemisphere. This position of the earth is called winter solstice. Do you know that Christmas is celebrated in Australia in summer season? So now we are going to study about winter solstice. So again we have to go to figure 3.3. So on here on 22nd of December there is winter solstice. Now in this picture we observe that the south pole is getting a lot of heat and now the north pole is tilted to the other side, so it is summer in the southern hemisphere and it is winter in the northern hemisphere on 22nd of December. So this is called as winter solstice when the south pole is getting heat from the sun on 22nd of December. It is called as winter solstice. On 22nd December, the Tropic of Capricorn receives direct rays from the sun. So the south pole tilts towards it. So this is winter solstice. And when the north pole is tilted towards the sun, it is summer solstice. And when the south pole is tilted towards the sun, it is winter solstice. So children, you should remember summer solstice as well as winter solstice. Now we are reading over here. On 21st March and September 23rd, direct rays of the sun fall on the equator. At this position, neither of the poles are tilted towards the sun. So the whole earth experiences equal days and equal night. This is called equinox. So on 21st March and on 23rd September, the North Pole and the South Pole are straight. They are not tilting towards the sun, neither they are tilting away from the sun. They are in a straight line. So they experience equinox. This is called as equinox. On 23rd September, it is autumn season in the northern hemisphere and spring season in the southern hemisphere. The opposite is the case on 21st March, when it is spring in the northern hemisphere and autumn in the southern hemisphere. Thus, you will find that there are days and nights and changes in the season because of the rotation and revolution of the earth respectively. So children, here we see about the equinox. So here I have pasted a picture of March equinox. So we see that the north and the south pole are in the straight direction. Now they are divided into two equal half, and this north pole is also getting sunlight, the south pole is also getting sunlight, so it is called as equinox. So they get direct rays from the sun. So it is northern spring and southern autumn is observed during the March equinox, and we observe the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere it is autumn. Thus we find that there are days and nights and seasons are changing because of the rotation and the revolution of the sun. Now let me revise to you again these 3 points. Summer solstice is observed on 21st of June, where we see that the north pole is tilted towards the sun and it is getting a lot of heat, while the south pole is not getting any heat. So the Arctic Circle 24 hours of daylight. The Tropic of Capricorn 13.15 hours of daylight. Equator 12 hours of daylight. Tropic of Capricorn is getting 10.5 hours of daylight, and the Antarctic Circle is not getting any light. So it is 6 months of night in the south region, and it is 6 months of day in the northern poles. So this is called as summer solstice. It occurs on 21st June. The day is more long as compared to the night. Now winter solstice. In winter solstice we see that it occurs on 21st December. The North Pole is getting here no sun rays, so there is 6 months of night in the North Pole, and there is 6 months of day in the South Pole. The Arctic Circle, the Tropic of Cancer, the Equator, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Antarctic Circle are also in darkness. For example, the Arctic Circle 24 hours of darkness, Tropic of Cancer 13.5 hours of darkness, the Equator is in 12 hours of darkness, the Tropic of Capricorn is 10.5 hours of darkness, and the Antarctic Circle is in 0 hours of darkness because it is getting sun rays. So in the South Pole there is day, continuous day for 6 months, and in the North Pole it is continuous night for 6 months. So this is the difference between summer solstice and winter solstice. And during equinox we see that both the poles are getting heat from the sun. So we observe northern spring and southern autumn during March equinox, and 23rd September it is autumn season in the northern hemisphere and spring season in the southern hemisphere, and it is opposite on 21st March. It is when it is spring in the northern hemisphere and autumn in the southern hemisphere. So children, with this we have completed lesson number 3, motions of the earth. I'll give question answers, and all the hard words, fill in the blanks, tick the correct answers, answer the following brief will be given on WhatsApp group.